The command to sleep is not weakness, but preparation, where chosen ones are hidden and strengthened by God in silence. When God instructs His chosen ones to lie down, to rest, to be still, it is not a dismissal of their calling or a denial of their strength, but rather the beginning of a deeper process. The chosen ones often carry heavy responsibilities, burdens of purpose, and the weight of spiritual warfare that others may never understand. In the eyes of the world, being told to rest may seem like stepping back, like giving up the fight, but in the kingdom of God, rest is never retreat. It is strategic concealment and renewal. Just as a soldier must return to the barracks to sharpen his weapons and regain his strength before entering battle again. The chosen one is called 2 seasons of holy stillness, where the unseen work of God takes place within them. In this quiet place, they are hidden. God often pulls His chosen ones away from noise, from people, from distractions, and even from opportunities that look good but are not aligned with His plan. To others, it may seem like the chosen ones are inactive, forgotten, or even abandoned, but in truth, they are being protected. There is a divine shelter in rest, a covering where God shields His anointed from premature exposure or unnecessary conflict. The process of being hidden is never easy for someone who is destined to shine, but it is essential. Just as a seed must be buried in the ground before it can break forth into a tree, the chosen ones must experience the silence of rest before they rise into the fullness of their assignment. This preparation is not only external, but deeply internal. In the stillness of lying down, the heart of the chosen one is refined. Pride is stripped away. Fear is confronted. Trust is tested. When the noise of constant striving is silenced, the voice of God grows louder. In the quietness of sleep, He begins to pour fresh visions into the spirit, whisper divine instructions, and plant wisdom that can only be received in moments of surrender. This kind of preparation cannot happen in the rush of daily activity or the noise of constant motion. It requires the chosen one to fully yield, to lie down in obedience, even when the flesh desires to keep moving. Strengthening also happens here. Sleep restores the body, but divine rest restores the soul. The chosen ones often walk through valleys of exhaustion because of the battles they fight, both seen and unseen. They give out so much light, pour out so much energy, and carry so much responsibility that their vessels need replenishment. When God commands rest, He is not weakening them, but rebuilding them. He is pouring back what was poured out, recharging the spiritual batteries and making them stronger than they were before. It is in these silent seasons that hidden growth takes place just as muscles strengthen during recovery after exertion. Without this strengthening, the chosen ones would collapse under the weight of their destiny to the outside world. The chosen one lying down may look like they are inactive or unproductive, but in heaven's design, this is the moment where they are being equipped for greater assignments. Preparation in silence is often more powerful than public activity because it lays the foundation for what is to come. God knows that the chosen ones cannot walk into their calling unprepared, so He commands this holy pause. It is a sacred sleep, not as an escape from reality, but as a preparation for a greater unveiling. In this process, the chosen ones are not losing time. They are being perfected, pruned, and fortified for the path ahead. True rest is a divine strategy, a season of surrender that protects you from premature battles and aligns you with God's timing. The chosen ones are not called to live in constant motion without pause, for even the strongest vessel will break if it is never allowed to stop. Rest in the hands of God is not simply about recovering strength, but about being positioned for what comes next. It is the divine pause between seasons, the holy interlude where the spirit is refreshed and the path ahead is clarified. When God instructs His chosen ones to lie down, it is not random or without reason. It is intentional, calculated, and deeply protective. For there are times when moving ahead too quickly would bring unnecessary harm. The enemy often seeks to lure the chosen into battles they are not yet meant to fight, and without discernment, stepping into such battles prematurely could bring defeat. God, in His wisdom, removes His chosen from the front lines and places them in rest, so that they are not exposed before their time. This divine strategy may not make sense to those who are watching from the outside. To them, it may look like pause, a setback, or even a form of weakness. But in the spiritual realm, it is the most effective shield. Rest is not withdrawal from destiny. It is protection until destiny aligns with God's perfect timing. Consider how even Jesus withdrew to solitary places to pray and rest, not because He lacked power, but because He knew the importance of alignment. His miracles, teachings, and movements were all governed by timing, and rest was part of that divine rhythm. In the same way, chosen ones are instructed to step back, to lie down, and to allow God to orchestrate events around them while they remain in stillness. During this season of surrender, much is taking place in the unseen. It is not inactivity, but hidden activity, a behind-the-scenes preparation orchestrated by the Creator. The chosen ones may not realize it, but while they are resting, God is moving pieces into place, shifting people, arranging circumstances, and preparing opportunities that they could not have forced on their own. What looks like delay is actually divine positioning. What feels like stillness is actually strategy. The surrender of rest is a demonstration of faith. For to lie down when everything in the flesh wants to push forward requires trust that God knows what He is doing. It is the surrender of control, the letting go of striving, and the acceptance that only God can align the chosen ones with the right moment, the right place, and the right assignment. Rest also resets the mind and spirit. In times of constant struggle or relentless pursuit, the chosen ones may lose clarity and perspective. Their vision can become clouded, and their decisions can be influenced by exhaustion rather than wisdom. By calling them into rest, God allows their spiritual eyes to be cleared, their discernment sharpened, and their focus restored. It is in stillness that they hear His voice most clearly, and it is in surrender that they are able to recognize His timing above their own. Alignment cannot happen in chaos. It requires the calmness of rest. This strategy of rest is also a test of patience. The chosen ones are often eager to move ahead, to fulfill their destiny, to see the promises of God come to life. Yet the waiting period of rest teaches them endurance, humility, and reliance on God's direction rather than their own desires. It shapes their character as much as it shapes their strength. Without learning to rest in God's timing, the chosen ones would be prone to rushing ahead and missing the divine order that sustains their calling. Rest, therefore, is not simply a break, but a refining process, one that ensures they are not only ready, but aligned with the exact moment heaven has appointed for them to rise. Lying down in obedience allows the chosen ones to awaken with renewed vision, power, and purpose for the greater calling ahead. When God commands His chosen to rest, to be still, and to surrender to His timing, it is not only about stopping, but about preparing for a holy awakening. The act of lying down is symbolic of submission, a recognition that one's strength alone is not enough and that the true power comes from God. In this posture of obedience, the chosen ones are not merely waiting idly. They are being filled with what they will need for the next chapter of their journey. When they awaken from this season, they do not arise the same. They arise transformed, carrying clarity, strength, and authority that could not have been attained without the rest that God ordained. Renewed vision is one of the first gifts given in this process. The chosen ones often walk through seasons of confusion where the pressures of life and the noise of external voices blur their understanding of the path ahead. Rest allows the spiritual eyes to be opened again, removing the haze and revealing the bigger picture. In stillness, God reveals direction that is not seen in constant striving. When they awaken, chosen ones often find themselves with sharper discernment, deeper wisdom, and a more focused sense of where God is leading them. The clarity that comes after divine rest is like the light breaking forth after a long night. Everything that seemed uncertain begins to take shape, and the chosen can now walk forward with confidence in their divine assignment. Power is also renewed in this awakening. The chosen ones are called to carry heavy mantles, and such responsibility can easily drain their spirit and body if they are not continually replenished. When they lie down in obedience, they are submitting to the spiritual recharge that only God can provide. Their spirit is restored, their faith is strengthened, and their inner being is fortified in ways they may not even notice until they face their next challenge. The same way that physical sleep heals the body, divine rest heals the soul and arms the chosen with supernatural strength. They awaken not only physically renewed, but spiritually empowered, able to face adversities with courage and stand firm in battles that once seemed overwhelming. This renewed power becomes a shield, a weapon, and a testimony of God's faithfulness. In their lives, purpose also becomes clearer after this sacred rest.